Get that off my fence.
It's just drying, man.
You're ruining private property.
Relax. It's only laundry.
Then I'll fix the problem.
Daniel stepped into his backyard after work and immediately froze. Wet clothes were hanging all over his freshly stained wooden fence again. The neighbors laughed casually while their kids tossed more laundry into baskets nearby. Daniel clenched his jaw, realizing this had become a daily problem. He walked closer to inspect the damage and noticed dark water stains spreading across the expensive wood panels. The fence he spent weeks restoring now looked worn and soaked. Every towel dripping over the edge made the damage worse. Daniel silently stared at the mess in frustration. Across the yard, Miguel and Elena stretched giant bedsheets over the fence like it belonged to them. Their children helped pin socks and shirts across the top boards. Nobody even bothered asking permission anymore. Daniel watched quietly from his patio with growing anger. Water slowly dripped down the polished wood as heavy jeans and towels hung in the evening sun. The stain coating on the fence had already started peeling away. Daniel remembered how much money and effort went into repairing it last summer. Seeing it ruined again pushed him closer to action. That night, Daniel sat alone on his patio with repair receipts spread across the table. He calculated how much damage the constant moisture had caused over the past few months. The numbers only made him more irritated. He decided he would finally confront the neighbors directly. The next morning, Daniel approached Miguel calmly beside the fence. He politely explained that the water was damaging private property and asked him to stop hanging clothes there. Miguel shrugged and laughed like it was no big deal. The disrespect irritated Daniel more than the damage itself. Less than 24 hours later, the laundry was back. Colorful shirts and blankets covered the fence from one side to the other. Daniel stared through his kitchen window in disbelief. At that moment, he realized the neighbors had no intention of stopping. Daniel grabbed a measuring tape and carefully inspected every section of the fence line. He wrote numbers down in a small notebook while planning something new. The neighbors watched curiously from their yard without understanding his intentions. Daniel stayed completely focused on his project. A large truck arrived early Saturday morning carrying metal fence materials and construction supplies. The sound attracted attention from the entire street. Miguel peeked through his curtains while Daniel signed the delivery paperwork confidently. Something big was clearly about to happen. All weekend, Daniel worked under the hot sun installing sleek angled toppers along the fence. The smooth design made it impossible for fabric to stay balanced on top. Every panel was carefully secured into place. By Sunday evening, the entire fence looked modern and untouchable. The following morning, Miguel walked outside carrying a basket full of wet towels. He confidently tossed one over the fence, but it immediately slid onto the grass. He tried again with the same result. The children stared in confusion while Daniel quietly sipped coffee nearby. For the first time in months, Daniel's fence stayed perfectly clean and dry. No dripping blankets blocked his backyard view anymore. He relaxed on his patio chair, enjoying the peaceful silence. The upgraded fence had solved everything without a single argument. Miguel stormed toward the property line, pointing angrily at the new fence design. He complained that Daniel had made drying clothes impossible. Daniel calmly reminded him that it was private property. Nearby residents started paying attention to the argument. Soon the entire neighborhood began discussing the fence conflict. Some homeowners secretly supported Daniel's decision after hearing the full story. Others thought both sides had taken things too far. But everyone agreed boundaries between neighbors mattered. Daniel spent the next afternoon applying fresh protective stain across the repaired wood. Sunlight reflected beautifully off the smooth fence panels. The damage from months of moisture was finally disappearing. Daniel felt proud seeing his hard work restored again. Meanwhile, the Rivera family drove home with portable drying racks strapped to the roof of their car. Miguel looked annoyed while unloading the equipment into the backyard. Elena stayed quiet, clearly tired of the conflict. The neighbors finally had their own solution. The children struggled carrying fallen towels and blankets across the yard while their parents argued nearby. Every attempt to hang laundry over the fence failed instantly. Elena slowly started realizing Daniel's frustration had been understandable all along. The tension inside the family continued growing. That evening, Daniel hosted a peaceful barbecue on his patio. Friends complimented the upgraded fence and joked about how professional it looked. The backyard finally felt private and relaxing again. Daniel smiled for the first time in weeks. Close-up details of the upgraded fence revealed smooth angled toppers running along every section. The design looked modern while completely preventing anything from hanging over it. Daniel had carefully researched local property rules before building it. Everything was perfectly legal. Miguel stood staring at the unusable fence while holding a pile of wet towels in frustration. He realized his old routine was completely finished. There was no easy way around Daniel's modifications. For the first time, he finally respected the boundary. One afternoon, another homeowner stopped to compliment Daniel's patience during the entire situation. They admitted many residents had noticed the repeated disrespect long before the argument started. Daniel simply explained he wanted peace and privacy. The conversation spread quickly through the neighborhood. At night, the backyard looked calm under soft patio lights. The polished fence glowed warmly without any wet clothes hanging from it. Daniel sat quietly outside enjoying the peaceful atmosphere. Months of stress slowly faded away. Peace finally returned to the neighborhood. Like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from.